This is episode number 1 of the You Can Do It podcast, where we are helping aspiring entrepreneurs go from a dream in your mind to an actual business in real life. And for episode number 1, we are honored to have Danny here. Danny, please introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Danny Casillas, owner and co-founder of CC&R's Property Management, condo consultancy and reviews, and thank you for having me on the show today.
You're welcome.
Excited.
Yeah, me too. So, Danny, first question. Did you always know you wanted to own your own business?
Honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. When I didn't graduate high school, and I didn't get my high school diploma until a couple years later when I started taking college and was able to transfer the credits. It wasn't until, after I got married and I was working in a job, it was about 2015, so what is that, like 10 years ago?
My God, it is.
So I was in a management position in a condo project underwriting department for a mortgage operation. The names and the places of the story have been changed to protect me, not the innocent. Okay. So I'll just borrow that phrase. But
I like it.
I was working for a company. I was working as a manager in condo project review, mortgage underwriting. So say you want to buy a condo and you fill out a mortgage application. Well, the condo project has to fill out an application with the mortgage company in a sense. Okay. And so we review all of it, take care of it. So I know I'm kind of coming all the way around the mountain on your question right here.
I like it.
But just to give you a little bit of backdrop. So the 7th year in my mortgage underwriting career, I got an opportunity to join a high volume mortgage lending team that they were the preferred lender for some local Southern California home builders. Okay. So to me, like, it's a dream come true, because there's no favorite part of the real estate industry for me than new home construction. Okay. And that's another testimony and conversation. Long story short, I joined that team with the goal to really triple my income. I was already making pretty decent money in management, and I was looking to triple it. Getting well into the 6 figures, which is absolutely what is necessary to be a middle-class person in Orange County.
Right, okay? Ridiculous. Yeah.
If you just want to be in the median.
Yeah, it's like 50,000 in the Midwest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's absolutely feasible. I mean, a friend of mine, a pastor friend of mine, he used to joke, "You live in Orange County? That's God's country."
There we go. Okay.
It's where all the bread baskets are.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you definitely feel that driving around.
Yeah, no doubt. But and also jokingly, some people call it mortgage capital of the world, but a lot of cities are competing for that now. In any case, I switched in September. In November, I tore a disc in my back.
Oh no! And
so instead of being able to be out in the field, meeting with clients, going from new home build project to new home build project all over SoCal, I could barely move my body. And I was literally, like, you've seen the movie The Usual Suspects, right? When, Kevin Spacey is faking, like, the Kaiser Sose walk. Like, that was me walking, like, every day of my life. For, like, almost a whole year, the Kaiser Sose walk.
Oh, no.
Like, fighting to walk like a normal human being.
Oh, that's so awful.
And so I just couldn't be out in the field and accelerate to where I needed to be, even though with a new home builder as the referral source, where they're just feeding you business. Yeah. They're building as fast as they can, and they're feeding you business as fast as they can. I just was not able to cross that bridge due to physical limitations. So I had to take a lower paying job to like a loan officer assistant role. And I feel bad for the loan officer assistants now, because I went from underwriting management to loan officer assistant, and like they get paid peanuts and they do the hardest work.
That's the worst. Yeah. That's the worst of both worlds.
Exactly.
Oh no.
Yeah. And so got injured, took the loan officer assistant role, and I was just like, well, if I'm gonna be stuck in the office, I can't keep doing this. I'm not gonna be able to support my family. So I ended up crossing back over into mortgage underwriting at the time, and back in the condo project mortgage underwriting division, which is really what my niche was. It's like my highest competency. And so after getting injured, I started having conversations with my wife and think tanking, like, if we're gonna be where we wanna be, not just in Orange County, but for us, our lives, our goals, our aspirations, what we want to see for our children.
Yeah.
You know, the fruit that we want to bear as a husband and wife, and the legacy that we want to leave for our children. There's only one way to do that, and it's we have to build our own business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what it really came down to. That's when I made the shift in my mind.
So tremendous adversity. You're going through this injury. You're on top of the world. Just knocks you down, and you go, "We got to take the leap."
Yeah.
You know, that's what a cool origin story.
Yeah. 100%.
So you didn't know you wanted to do it. This is not like, oh, I've always wanted to own my own business. It was, you know, I have this skill set. It's a very valuable skill set. Life is crazy. Things can happen. The most control I can have over the income for my family is to just take the reins and just make my own business.
That's it.
How about that?
Yeah. And I was just thinking business in general. We happen to live in the city of Orange, in West Orange. And so there's like downtown, East Orange is like the hills, you know, where all the like $1 million homes are.
Nice.
Then there's downtown Orange, which is like the quaint old town restaurants.
Yeah, I like Old Town. Yeah.
You know, super nice and close to Chapman University, so it's kind of got a college town vibe there.
It does.
Then there's West Orange, which is just kind of like ho-hum. And we used to go out for bagels all the time, but we used to have to drive so far just to go get a bagel. So my first business idea was like, why don't we open a bagel shop somewhere close to West Orange? There's literally no good bagel shops for like a 15, 20-minute drive. Yeah. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, where are the bagel shops?
Where are the bagels?
So that was the first business that we explored. But then we were just going to do like a franchise opportunity, you know,
like Einstein's or something?
Like Einstein. Well, Einstein's price point is like super high. Their buy-in is like, you know, $500K to $1 million. It's very high because of the brand name and the build out. And so it's like, you know, it's like a 6 to 10 year plan to recuperate all the money in.
Holy crap.
Because you're selling bagels for what, $1.50?
Yeah, right. $2. You know, it's not ultra high profit margin.
Right, exactly.
A bagel with cream cheese.
And so we explored that, and we were looking at different franchise models, and the guy was trying to sell us on property management. And we ended up getting into vending machines because we were like, look, low barrier to entry. We bought vending machines. We built out a route. It was actually a very successful route for the amount of machines that we had, and we actually were able to sell it for a profit later on down the line.
Oh, nice.
But we figured out that we didn't want to be like soda delivery drivers.
Yeah, you know? Oh my God, what a hassle. That does not sound fun.
So it seemed like a great idea, like, oh, just, you know, put the vending machine and, you know, let the vending machine do the work for you. And then, you know, you really have to babysit those vending machines and put the product in it.
And people break into them sometimes. And
we didn't have that problem, though, because they were, like, in pretty good locations.
As long as it's in a nice area. Yeah, you're fine then.
Pretty good locations. So it was mostly employee break rooms that we were in, kind of like all throughout.
Yeah, you're not getting too many broken into. An employee break room.
Yeah, not an employee break room.
It's a disgruntled employee right there. Yeah. I'm taking this Coca-Cola.
Yeah, so funny. You're just thinking back, I'm like, why don't I, you know, get into what is actually my highest competency? Even though I was like trying to run away from it at the 7 years, I'm like, why don't I just lean into this? So I heard a message. I don't know if you're familiar with the pastor Tudor Bismarck. Tudor Bismarck is a preacher in Zimbabwe.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So Zimbabwe, obviously not like what you think about when you think of countries that are extremely successful.
Yeah, no.
But he has built an international ministry organization, and he does mission work to other nations, and he gets invited to the United States to speak all the time. Anyways, he preached a message about leaning into your dominant gift, and whatever the Lord has given you that is your dominant gift, let the Lord prosper you in that. And then once you prosper in your dominant gift, then you can go and do all these other side businesses. And so he talked about, and then you have to have good character, you know, with your dominant gift so that you can do all these other things. And so he talked about two Michaels. He talked about Michael Jordan and Mike Tyson. He goes, Michael Jordan had a dominant gift in basketball, and then he went on to do baseball and clothing and ownership and, you know, business entrepreneurship. So he leaned into his dominant gift, and then with the success and the money that he made in his dominant gift, he was able to do other things and capitalize in it. He goes, but if you don't have the right character, if you don't have the right work ethic, you'll end up like Mike Tyson, bankrupt. He leaned into his dominant gift, but he bit Holyfield's ear off.
Yeah, don't do that.
So that I decided to just, really lean into everything that I had learned while in mortgage underwriting about HOAs and associations. And it was a really easy transition, actually, a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
How about that?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, quite the journey. Quite the journey. I love the leaning into your dominant gifts. That makes me kind of look at myself a little bit. What are my dominant gifts, and am I leaning into that as much as possible? When I go walk on a beach tonight, I'm going to definitely give that some thought.
Okay.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Very good.
I think anyone watching this too, I love how you kind of talked about how you wanted to open a bagel business. And then you actually went and did the vending machine. And that's the path of entrepreneurship. It's never a straight line.
Yeah.
The perfect person watching this, they're probably not 100% sure what they want to do.
Yeah.
They just don't like their life right now.
Oh, yeah.
And they want to have the reins to their future.
Well, I'll tell you about the bagel shop too, like thinking it's not a straight line. Well, when we started going through the due diligence, with the bagel franchise that we selected, we're like looking at the hours of operation, and then the owner initially has to get there like at 3 a.m., 4 a.m.
early, right, to cook the bagels. Oh, man, no way.
And open up the shop until you can put somebody in management that you trust that can run the shop for you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, we're not 3 a.m. people.
No.
So we went through the due diligence.
Maybe go to bed at 3 a.m.
Okay, it sounded like a good idea, but this is probably not the lifestyle for us. And then the vending machine sounded like a great idea, and then when we really got into it, like, this is not the business for us.
Let me ask you this question. How did you transition from the bagel concept to the vending machine? What was the bridge there?
Honestly, it got pitched to us by the franchise agent. So
was it because you were looking at the bagel franchises that you got in touch with that person, though?
Exactly.
See, that's a great lesson right there.
Yeah.
You saw, hey, this is something I want. I have to drive so far to get it. Wouldn't it be better to have the convenience of it there? Mm-hmm. I want that. Other people probably want that too. And you actually have the guts to go for it and explore it, and you're talking to the people.
Yeah.
And then amongst those people, turns out that wasn't the right path, but it leads you to the next one where you actually pull the trigger.
Exactly.
And make it happen.
Exactly.
That's a lesson right there. That's really cool.
And I wouldn't say I was pretty far down the path on the bagel shop financially, but I had like picked a shopping center that I wanted to open it up in, and there was like a Starbucks.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a bank and like some other activity in that shopping center.
High volume.
Apartment buildings close by, the mall across the street. So it's just like heavy traffic. Barnes and Noble's close by. So we were like, okay, this would be a great spot. So we had the spot. We selected the franchise, we signed all the paperwork, we started going through the due diligence packet, and we were like, whoa, wait.
3 in the morning, wait a minute. Just because you're not super into it financially doesn't mean, time and energy and emotion. That is, and the You Can Drew It podcast, they really probably don't have that much money to put into it. So it really is just the energy and the emotion and the time you invest into it.
No doubt.
So
no doubt.
That is a cool lesson. That is a huge takeaway.
Yeah.
What is missing in my life? How can I bring that to other people? They'll pay me. Actually freaking go for it. Do the legwork. Get into that community, talk to the people, and then just let the Lord work from there.
That's right.
Doors open.
Yep.
But also have the courage to not be stubborn.
Yeah.
And go, no, I'm going to do the bagels.
Yeah.
You move to a better opportunity.
Well, yeah. So we moved to the vending machines too. So low barrier to entry, right? So we owned our townhome. It was a quaint townhome, our first property in Southern California. We had lived there for I think 3 years at the time, and we had built up enough equity where we could pull a little bit of cash out.
Oh, nice.
And the cash that we could pull out was enough to pay, for the vending machines.
Oh, cool.
And then help building out the route through the franchisor. And we used those funds, and then we used a little bit of funds for ourselves to play, right? So when we did the cash out, and then it all penciled out for us.
That's how you got started.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask that question too.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Very cool. What a journey.
Yeah.
What a journey.
That's
okay.
Good. And actually, so my wife, Rochelle, she built out the route mostly herself. Like the locations that the company, so the Company said, okay, we'll help you build out your locations. Rochelle literally like door knocked or drove around, prayed in the spirit and like just drove down streets and found like manufacturing places and handed our flyer out. And that's how we ended up getting most of our better locations.
I could see that.
Her pounding the pavement.
There we go. That's very Rochelle. She's like, I'm just going for it. I don't care.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, you're getting a vending machine.
Yeah.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
What a cool story. What a cool story.
Yeah.
Okay. So the second question, talk me through the first couple weeks. What was it like going from this is a dream to now it's a reality? CC&Rs is alive.
Yeah.
You're rocking and rolling.
It might seem odd, but we stumbled into our first contract in a sense. We weren't seeking it. I had my real estate salesperson license at the time, and most real estate brokers steer away from property management because it's a lot of liability and for them low profit margin, especially if the brokers are high sales volume or they build teams that have high sales volume because they're higher ticket items on a home sale transaction. So a lot of brokers don't want to do them and they don't want to spend the time, they don't want to invest the time in managing property management transactions. So if they're not set up to do property management for their own selves, they will also not let any other agents, because ultimately the broker's on the hook. So I had my real estate salesperson license. So first things first is I started working towards getting my broker's license so I could be my own broker, and then I could open up my own property management shop.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we began reaching out to other brokers that were in property management to see if I could hang my license with them and then be mentored by them in the time. Okay.
Nice.
And we ended up nearly making a deal with a broker who was more focused on commercial property management. And I told him how my interest was in residential multifamily. And so we almost cut a deal where I was going to hang my license with him, and then he was going to help us push the residential side forward and feed us the residential business, and then, mentor us on the property management side, etc. Then, after we kind of on a handshake kind of talked about it and said this would be great, and he ended up getting cold feet because he didn't want to steer away from the commercial side.
Oh, no.
However, because he's very well known in property management, a lot of the people that he manages for say, hey, we have another management opportunity, it's residential, can you take it on? And one of his clients, right at the time that we were working on and hammering out this deal, and then the deal fell apart. Yeah. One of his clients asked, hey, can you manage our 8-unit HOA? It's all single family homes, custom homes in San Juan Capistrano. Okay. So they're all, it's not like your typical condo. It's all custom home built. They just all happen to pay into association because they could have, a private driveway all made out of pavers and beautiful landscaping and blah, blah,
what a great first freaking thing to have, man. Oh, man.
So because he doesn't do residential, he gave me a call and he said, hey, do you know anything about HOA management? And I said, well, yeah, I know a lot about HOA management. That's really have been my primary focus for the last 15 years of my life, just underwriting HOA projects for mortgage financing. So I know everything there is to know. Almost. Almost.
Pretty close.
Pretty close to.
Yeah.
I could still learn me something, but... And he goes, well, do you want to take this 8-unit HOA? And I was like, let me get back to you. I thought about it for a day. I did the research, and it come to find out that HOA management does not require a broker's license in the state of California, does not require any special certification necessarily. You just have to be able to prove that you are qualified to the HOA and that you have the capability to manage their HOA. So however you prove it, sharing your resume and just talking through them and negotiating the contract, you just have to show that demonstrate that you're capable.
8 freaking years of experience should probably get you there too.
Yeah. So obviously able to talk the talk, able to explain everything to them. And I got back to him the next day and I was like, I want to give it a shot. I'd love to at least have the conversation with the HOA board members to see what we can get going. So I started talking to her, and I was like, at the time I didn't know it was an 8 unit. When I thought 8 units, single family homes, custom homes, easy peasy. I looked at the addresses, and they're all $3 million, $4 million homes, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a super easy project to manage, you know, there's going to be no delinquencies, you know,
right?
Everybody's going to pay on time, people are going to care about their community.
Oh, what a softball, man. I'll take that.
Totally. Oh, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And so I offered them a super low rate, too low. And even the commercial broker was like, why are you charging so low?
He's like, this is suspicious.
Yeah,
and
I was like, well, I kind of thought about it. I kind of wanted to be at, you know, X amount of dollars per door as a goal, because most people in the industry are at X amount of dollars per door, the profit margin. He's like, yeah, but for such a small community, but anyways, so the pricing wasn't right at the time. We have, you know, since changed the contract a little bit with that community, but it was the first contract, and I valued the experience and everything that I could get out of it. Anything, you know, anything else over anything else. Right. I was like, okay, it's going to be the first HOA. I can learn a lot as much as help these people a lot. And I actually ended up getting a great, a great set of records from the previous management company.
Okay.
And so I was able to replicate a lot of everything that I received from the previous management company to help me build and then go serve other HOAs.
Oh, nice.
So I initially started out, okay, I'm gonna do multifamily residential, I'm gonna do single family residential property management. I need to get my broker's license, I need to work with a broker. It's gonna take me a year to get my broker's license, so we're gonna have this long ramp time to even do any kind of property management. And then somebody threw me like, hey, do you know anything about HOAs? And I'm like, I didn't even think about it as much as I knew about. I was just all like real estate focused. And then because of the low barrier to entry on the paperwork, licensing, and how, you know, to open a business, like in that first 2 weeks from the time that we, you know, right when we said yes over the phone, we filed an S corp, we got our tax ID number, we shopped for a banking relationship, so like an HOA banking platform relationship, and you know, we just got into business within like a 2-3 week span. And then we joined the Community Associations Institute, which is like, you know, the National Association rules, or name any trade association group. So, but it's an HOA trade association group that helps property HOA management companies and helps HOAs, providing them resources. So we joined the trade association. We took a course, like their coursework on how to manage an HOA efficiently, like their entry course, and we started working on the certification, and we did all of that in like, I don't know, like a 2 to 4 week period.
Oh my God.
And then they had like boilerplate documents that they gave to the management companies to help them run the HOA management company. So we downloaded all of our boilerplate from the trade association group, got into contract with the HOA, and we started November 1st, 2023. So 111, Deuteronomy, 11:1, but 111 is the number. So Deuteronomy 111. May the Lord bless you and make you 1,000 times more.
Oh, wow. Perfect. How about that?
Yeah.
Oh, man. So you go from, this is going to take a whole year. Like, this is a ramp up. It's going to take a long time for us to get this, to, hey, here's a way that's a little bit different than what you thought, but it's well within your competency, and you can get going right now.
Exactly.
So you guys just had the courage to pull the trigger, and you go from, oh, this would be nice to, we have a business, we have a bank, we have an LLC, we're part of it in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep.
That's like a training montage, man.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Exactly. We're like,
how is that even possible?
Go for it. Go for it. I can do this,
I love, there's a couple lessons in that I really love, that if I look at myself, it's a beginning entrepreneur or anybody watching this podcast, number one, you sought out the mentor first. You said, I don't have all this pride that I know every answer in the world, or, I know I need someone to help teach me in the beginning, even though you've had years, if not decades, in that field. Yeah. So that's incredible humility and just being smart about starting a business. And then from there, you were open to when the universe and the Lord brings you things that, you weren't so rigid. You're like, no, this is what I'm doing. Yeah. I don't want to do that now.
Right.
And when you are presented that opportunity, you took massive action.
Oh, yeah.
And you just turned on the jets.
Yeah.
2 weeks to get everything rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
2 or 3,
100%.
So I love that, man. Those are really good lessons.
Yeah.
Wow. What a first couple weeks.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting. Going along with what you just said, Drew, one of the things that I don't want to do is, to be cliche, I don't want to reinvent the wheel, right?
Yeah.
So I want to shorten the learning time on good processes for production.
What a better way to look at it.
And so my goal in like seeking out a mentorship from a broker is I want to know, even though I have like all the knowledge base, it's like being a lawyer. Like you have all of the knowledge base on like theory.
Yeah.
But then putting all of the theory on how condos are supposed to operate, how HOAs are supposed to operate on the actual ground level, the practice, and then how companies are supposed to act. So while I know all the theory and I've been reviewing covenants for 15 years, I've been kind of like on the outside looking in, not in the production side.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I'm working on constantly in my business is shortening the learning curve on fine-tuned production and processes so that we can help these people at a quicker rate, so that we can add more doors to our portfolio as fast as we possibly can.
Oh man, I love that. That's such a better way to look at it. You got one school of thought where you're like, oh, I don't want to admit that I don't know these things and, pretend I'm not this great big expert, even if you've been in the field. Or a much better way, this is how long it takes. If I can shorten that just by getting some mentorship and realizing that learning something in college versus doing the thing itself, those are two very different skill sets.
Exactly.
So put yourself in the field with a mentor, learn from them. I love that.
Yeah.
How about
That's a
that?
goal.
Very cool, man. So question number 3. Talk to me a little bit about the extremes. Like, what is the most difficult thing you can imagine that you've gone through with CC&Rs, and what is like the best, most fulfilling?
Yeah, that's really good. I would say the most difficult and the most fulfilling go hand in hand, because the most difficult part of the job is people management, especially when you have boards in conflict, people on the HOA board that don't agree with each other, are in contention with a homeowner, or a homeowner slaps a lawsuit against the board and the management company. So managing people, managing some of those fires, some of those business fires. But then the most rewarding, like when I feel the most fulfilled, is when I wrap up a board meeting. So being in a board meeting with the board, going over the business and the agenda, guiding them on the process and the best decisions to make. And then when we wrap up the board, like I feel like I'm on fire. Like if I was like Jordan, dunking, making threes and winning, like honestly, I feel like I'm on top of the world every time I wrap up a board meeting.
Wow.
Yeah, that's when I feel the best in the business.
Well, it shows you're in the right industry.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it either means I'm like insane, like I'm cuckoo, right? Or I'm a superhuman.
There we go. Yeah. I'm going superhuman.
Yeah.
I'm going superhuman.
Yeah.
Or the Lord has guided you to the right spot to be.
Precisely. Yeah.
These people need help. You are perfectly positioned, and you can just see in their eyes how much you've helped them.
Very much.
And you just feel that, gratitude, appreciation. You're fired up for it. Very cool, man.
I think one of the most fulfilling. I'm sure you've heard this before. How in sales conferences they teach you to stop apologizing to people for selling your services or doing your job.
Oh, yeah.
And so they stop saying sorry to bother you. Stop introducing yourself over the phone. Sorry to bother you. Do you have a few minutes? Oh, I hate to buy. Right. Blah, blah, blah. And start saying it's a pleasure to serve you.
There we go.
I always like to say like it's a blessing and an honor to serve your community. And
nice.
I put that on my email signature sometimes. And especially when I'm doing my sales, like if I'm pitching a community, I always put in my email, it would be a blessing and an honor to serve your community.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Well, I think one of the most fulfilling things that I did recently was I was paid to do some consultation work. But one of my friends in the mortgage business did a lot of loans for people who own condos in the Pacific Palisades. So whole condominium projects burnt to the ground, and people are trying to figure out what their options are.
Oh my God, right.
And so I was just brought in as a consultant to explain what the process is, what rights they have in their covenants, in the CC&Rs, the controlling documents of the condominium that are recorded against title, and to just let them know, what rights the mortgagees have. And because they're all afraid, okay, what if the board doesn't make a decision to rebuild? What if we don't get enough insurance, etc.? So all of that, what to do if and when.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like when you get on an airplane and you pull out that card and it tells you what to do in every emergency situation.
Yeah.
The CC&Rs that are recorded against title say that, like, in the case of condemnation, in the case of partial destruction, in the case of more than 80% destruction, in the case of 100% destruction.
Wow.
Who has rights? What are the voting processes, etc.? So it lays out the plan and who and how and when to vote. Who gets to vote, how they get to vote, when you have to vote, etc. Who's going to manage the insurance proceeds, whatever. So just being able to sit with them on a Zoom call and explain to them how it's all supposed to go out and what rights they have as individual homeowners, what rights the mortgagees have, and that the HOA board can't make the decision on their behalf on a vacuum because it's a whole membership vote. And if I'm a mortgagee, which means I'm a lender that lent against a unit in the project, all of the lenders get a vote. What happens because they have a financial interest in the project.
Sure,
so they're protected in the CC&Rs. But anyways, just getting a chance to explain all that to them over the phone and then go,
oh my God, the relief,
it was,
right?
And it wasn't even like the most expensive thing I ever did in my life. It was probably the most satisfying thing that I ever did because it made me think back about all of those sales pitches that you get. You say, when they say, stop apologizing for the service that you provide because people need the service that you provide.
Yeah.
And just talk about how it's a blessing to serve them. And it completely shifted my mind after I had that conversation with them that I really had an opportunity, like, it was probably the most satisfying dollar I ever made in my entire life. I had an opportunity to take, and have a conversation with and educate these people in one of the most traumatic situations of their life.
Yeah.
It was an absolute blessing to provide that service.
Wow.
Yeah.
So satisfying. Mm-hmm. And like to come in clutch in a crisis when they go, are we not going to be able to have our home back here?
Right.
Oh my God.
Right.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
And that's kind of like the bright side on that situation. There's other things going on, in that whole Rebuild LA process that is like not bright and starry, but being able to serve the people in that capacity was good.
That is good, man.
Yeah.
That is. So to kind of bring it full circle, adversity struck your life. You didn't ask for that back injury.
Right.
You were crushing it. Really, really doing well. It takes you down a notch. You go, for me to provide for my family in the way that I really, feel called to do, I'm going to have to take the bull by the horns, take the reins, start my own business.
Yeah.
You go from there to, what do I need in my community? Like, what am I kind of pissed off about that I would pay extra?
Exactly.
I'm driving so far for bagels. I just want a freaking bagel. There's so much to ask to have a bagel within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And you identify that as you go, well, I have this problem. Other people probably have a problem too. This could be a business.
Yep.
That's how it starts. And then you do the due diligence. You talk to the franchisees. You don't just go, well, that would be nice, and then you go watch Netflix.
Right.
You actually start and do it, and you sit down, you had the packet, and you go, I don't really want to wake up at 3 in the morning,
Yeah.
But you have the courage to shift gears because from you putting that energy out there, the universe, the Lord rewarded you with another opportunity.
Yeah.
He goes, hey, what about these vending machines? Oh, okay. Well, let's try out these vending machines.
Yep.
And because you had a little bit of equity in the home, you were able to make moves, maybe like a small loan from a family member, or, there's a lot of creative things you could do to just get a small, something rolling, get the ball rolling.
Yeah, and those franchise opportunities, a lot of them are SBA qualified. We happen to not need the SBA loan.
Look at that, there you go. So you don't even need
SBA
to have put a lot
loan
of money.
qualified. So even if it's like a big ticket, usually you only need to put 5 or 10% down, and you can take that you can get that 10% money from friends, instead of asking them for like the full $100,000, like, can you collect, $10,000 from a bunch of different family members?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Probably. That's a lot more realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, you go, well, I don't really see this as a long-term thing. We don't really want to stock soda machines for the rest of our life. What is my core competency? What is one of my gifts? And you went back to the property management. You have all this experience in it, and you sought the help from the mentorship. You wanted to just shorten that span where you're able to help people in the most effective way. Mm-hmm. And then the HOA comes in kind of out of nowhere. You go, let's go, turn on the jets. Within 3 weeks, you're up and running. And here we are today.
Here we are today, CC&R's Property Management.
What a journey, Danny.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be an incredibly valuable lesson for people watching this.
Yeah.
This is literally like a roadmap they can follow.
Yeah.
And what a cool journey you've been on, man.
Thank you.
How about that?
Appreciate it.
Let me leave with one final question. If you could go back to Danny, who you're just thinking about getting going, and you could tell him something, what advice would you give that Danny?
I will tell you that when we were looking at the bagel, so the franchise sales agent interviewed us, Rochelle and I, and interviewed us about our backgrounds. And we told him that we were interested in the bagel shop, but when he interviewed us, he's like, wow, both you and Rochelle have been in the real estate industry so long, and her family's been in related, residential care facility for the elderly. That's kind of real estate related, different aspect. Have you guys ever thought about property management? So he pitched us property management at the same time.
Really?
Now,
all the way in the beginning with the bagels?
All the way in the beginning with the bagels.
He's like, this is foreshadowing, by the way.
Yeah. Now, at the time, because I was a real estate agent, from 2005 through 2008, and I lived through that big bubble and crash. So I rode the swell up.
Holy crap.
Imagine just getting into the business right out 2005, and you ride the swell up where you're making, over 6 figures every year for 2 years, and then you come crashing down immediately. So I went from being like, a struggling, young 20-year-old to like a 6-figure earner owning 4 properties to coming crashing down and like having to short sell my properties and all kinds of weird stuff happening. I just thought to myself, I'm not sure that I want a business that is relying on contracts and service.
Yeah.
I want a business that's where we sell tangible and fixed assets rather than a service contract, because if something happens to the market, I don't know if I'm going to be protected, but people always need food. And so at the time when we pitched it, I made a decision, based on the experience that I had way early on in my real estate career. But then when I got all the way through all of these other things and going on this journey, we came back to center, and when we just, this is what we're best at. We cannot be afraid of doing what we're best at, because if we do it well, the business will come, and that's exactly what's been happening. We've been getting great Google reviews from tenants and owners alike. And what I would say to the beginning entrepreneur is that in each instance, we've purchased and started up. And my advice would be, and I'm sure if you're doing online business YouTube videos, is find a business that somebody that wants to retire and buy their book of business. That way you can step into somebody's income, you can step into somebody's process, and then you can find ways to improve it. So you're stepping into something that's functioning already, because it's much harder to start from scratch and build up. And I can't tell you like how many times that we've gone along where we thought to ourselves, like, it would have been so much better to just buy somebody out. Now, I'm not saying that we didn't try that in property management in Orange County, but in Orange County, property management companies get bought and sold at a very quick rate.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll
where
bet.
cash is king. You
Right.
know?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
well, I'd like to say, you know, Jesus is king, cash is his servant.
There we go. Okay.
Cash serve, and we're the king, you know, Jesus is the King of Kings. That makes me a king. Cash is my servant. But when it comes to, you know, transactions, the cash bid usually wins.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I would take cash right now versus like a check, and maybe, hopefully.
Yeah.
So that's the advice you give.
Yeah.
Buy
So
a
if there's
company.
if there's a way to get into the industry that you want to be in by, you know, purchasing or doing some sweat equity so that you can slowly take over the business and earn it and own it as somebody else retires, that's going to be a better way to step in than investing and, you know, pushing and driving. I mean, you know, we've been working so hard the last couple of years. Now that we've had the property management company open for over 2 years now, doors are opening, people want to invest with us, we're growing, people want us to manage their properties, and so things are moving faster now. It's just an uphill battle.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying it can't be done.
Yeah.
But you just got to have the gumption for it. It's not for the faint of heart. You just have to be so determined that there is no failing. Even if you fail for a day, there is no such thing as permanent failure in the business.
Just get back up.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Mm-hmm. This is not going to be a fun couple of months.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's all right, because then you can get over that hump. Kind of an old movie, but like Castaway, when Tom Hanks, he's trying to escape and he just can't get past those giant waves. I look at that like the profit ceiling, where it's like, you're not profitable. Oh, you made it, now you're off and running.
Yeah.
So if you can just buy a business that's here, you don't have to go over the wave.
Exactly.
So that's pretty good advice.
Yeah.
That's pretty good advice.
And then you can scale there, and you can always resell the business.
Yeah.
You can always you bought it.
Yeah. Clearly someone will buy it. Yeah. You literally bought it.
Yeah. Just make sure that you have somebody doing the due diligence, because you don't want to buy a dog. You know,
True.
If all of the disclosures show nothing but round numbers,
you should be a little worried about that. You should be a little worried about that.
Oh, we made 10,000 last month. Like
it's not a single
true
cent
numbers are never round.
Not like $51.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No,
okay.
True numbers are never round.
Good advice right there, too. Well, Danny, I can't thank you enough. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
I think there's so much value that just kind of diving into your story will bring to someone who's looking to follow in your footsteps, live their best dream. And I want to tell them, you can do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's go. You can do it too, Danny. You did it.
I really appreciate you having me on the show.
All right. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
Have a great one.
Thank you.